This just in. Spotify Wrapped 2023 lists are out. This is something digital listeners on the platform look forward to every single year. What were the top bands and songs that you listened to on Spotify this year? Well, today I'm going to share mine from my Spotify Wrapped 2023 list. There were a few surprises, so stay tuned for those, including one band I was kind of surprised didn't make either Wrapped list. After watching this video, I'll be curious to hear who you think it is in the comments down below. Real fast, if you are new to this channel, don't worry, yes, I cover a lot of things vinyl, but I always pair it with information about bands and albums, so anyone who loves music will find great value within. Hey fellow music nerds, it is Andy from the FENSEPOST Vinyl channel. If you like this sort of content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, then ring that little bell so you'll be notified of new videos when they go live. We'll start with my top 5 songs. Starting the list at number 5 is Way the World Is by Pale Saints. This is the year that OG shoegaze band Pale Saints really hit home for me. I became obsessed with their debut LP, The Comforts of Madness. Way the World Is comes from that album. In fact, it's the opening track. Number 4, Really Really Light by The New Pornographers. This is no surprise to me, as I've had a newfound obsession with everything by The New Pornographers since they released this album Continue as a Guest this year. I'm in love with the album, and it made it pretty high on my mid-year best of 2023 list. Really Really Light is the opening track off Continue as a Guest, and it's the lone one from the album featuring a longtime member Dan Bayer, whose Project Destroyer I also really adore. Really Really Light is in my top 3 songs on the album, so once again, no surprise. Number 3 is, Pontius Pilati's Home Movies by The New Pornographers. Okay, now this one was a surprise. It's The New Pornographers yet again, and yet again it's a track off Continue as a Guest. However, it's not one of my top 2 tracks on the album, those being Angel Cover and the title track. This one is pretty good, but I'm a bit surprised it reached all the way to number 3 for the entire year. Number 2, You Tear the World in Two by Pale Saints. This is the second track off the 1990 debut LP, and it is probably my favorite track on the album. And yes, that's even over their most popular one, which is Sight of You. This album is just so good, and it's really up there in terms of the all-time greatest shoegaze albums of all time. Number 1. Snowman by Blonde Redhead. Blonde Redhead gave us their first album in nearly a decade earlier this fall, and it's pretty damn great. That said, I'm a little surprised that this is the track that made it all the way to number 1 on the list. Why? I would have thought that their follow-up single, Melody Experiment, would have topped it, but still, that Blonde Redhead made it to number 1 is really no surprise to me, in the least. That brings me to the second half of my list, the bands. In at number 5, it is Kevin Morby. Kevin Morby's presence here does not surprise me in the least. He's been a mainstay in my top 5 for the past several years running in terms of Spotify Wrapped, probably dating back to about 2019, though the last few years I'm pretty sure he's been a bit higher on this list. This year he released an album titled More Photographs, which was a continuum to last year's LP, This Is a Photograph. For a companion album, it's surprisingly great. It features 6 new songs that really fit the vein of that last year's album, as well as 3 reimagined tracks from that album. Number 4 is Big Thief. Another expected one on this list, though I feel I haven't listened to them nearly as much the past several months. Their 2022 album, Dragon New Warm Mountain, I Believe in You, which I have right here, was my number 1 album of the year last year, and I also had the pleasure of seeing them live here in Dallas back in about February, I believe. Number 3, no surprise, The New Pornographers. We're getting into the fun ones now. The New Pornographers have never been in my top bands when it comes to Spotify Wrapped, but this year they wholeheartedly deserve it. A few milestones. Their new album, Continue as a Guest, is phenomenal. They reissued one of my all-time favorite albums, challengers from way back in 2007, and their LP electric version turned 20 this year. Where will continue as a guest land for me on my year-end list? Well, once again, you'll have to subscribe and hit that little notification bell to find out. Coming in a few weeks. Number 2. And here is Built to Spill in at number 2. I've been a fan of this band longer than any other on this list. How long? Let's just say I remember picking up the CD for Perfect From Now On when it was released originally back in 1997. Since then, I've been a diehard fan, and I finally got to see them this year as well. In 2022, the band released this, When the Wind Forgets Your Name. It was a top 3 album for me last year, and it's been one that I've returned to quite a bit this year, as well as, many other of their albums. I'm curious to see where this one falls on my top played records of 2023, which I'll have a video for come the first few days of January, so stay tuned for that one. And that brings me to number 1. Blonde Redhead. More than any other band this year, I have circled back to Blonde Redhead time and time again. Not only did the band release this, Sit Down for Dinner, in the fall, I've been revisiting Melody of Certain Damaged Lemons and 23 quite a bit, not to mention cycling through the rest of their releases here and there. Have you guessed who I thought would be on this list but isn't? And here's a 2-part question for you to answer in the comments below. 1. If you listen to vinyl and a lot of it, how does this year's Spotify Wrapped compare to what you think your top spun records will be this year? And number 2, does your Spotify Wrapped list align with your best albums of 2023? Let me know in the comments below. And next, check out this video right here for my mid-year best of 2023 list and make your predictions on what you think will get added to it. Or you can check out this down here, my Spotify Wrapped 2022 list, and see how much better my videos are today than they were a year ago. Hint, that video kinda sucks. I am Andy, this is the FENSEPOST Final Channel, and I'll see you in the next video.